Ohio State practice offense update. Let's talk about it. It is the Ohio State preseason with the camps and the practice and all that stuff going on. And so here on a weekend, I feel like it would be best to come to you and talk about it myself. A lot of these outlets that normally put out content don't put out anything on the weekend except my guy Juck. My guy Juck puts out stuff over there at Juck on Bucks. I think he even might have put it out on the Menace channel today or this weekend, whenever he put it out. So, you can always check out Juck stuff, but I wanted to come to you on the weekend because I know a lot of these places don't really talk about camp, and we have camp to talk about. We have practice to talk about. They practiced on Saturday. They will practice on Sunday as well. I'm sure there will be some media that come on and talk about that, but a lot of them will stay until Monday, or will hold off until Monday, which I don't blame them for. It is what it is. Just kind of stinks sometimes. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about practice. Now, listen, there were no pads for the first 2 days of practice. So when you don't have any pads, it makes it hard to evaluate some different people more than others, depending on their position. They did have like the shoulder pads and stuff like that on day 3. So there was some more of that. You could get a little bit more physical, but ultimately this was enough for NFL teams to feel like they could come out and they could evaluate some of the talent. The teams that sent scouts to the day 3 practice for Ohio State was the Cincinnati Bengals, the New York Jets, the Los Angeles Rams, New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Commanders. So not just local teams. Wasn't like it was just the Browns and the Bengals sending guys there. Nope. We have teams from all across America sending scouts to look at the players. And let's start with the tight ends. All right. I'm going to save the quarterbacks till last because that's the juicy one everybody wants to listen to. So I'm going to make you wait until the end. Tight ends, honestly, I wanted to start here because there's just really not much to talk about. I was hoping there would be more, but there wasn't really much done with them. A lot of off the ball kind of non-contact work for them. Patrick Gurd was taking some handoffs, which I assume would be him practicing for his H-back position. I in no way, shape, or form believe he is going to be relied upon as some kind of running back for this team. However, some handoffs. So like I said, I assume that's more for the H-back position, but just not a whole lot to report on here. G. Scott was there. Jelani Thurman was there. I mean, they were all there. There's just really not a whole lot going on with them right now that we're able to evaluate and take much to gauge from and try to figure out. Going on to running backs. Now, with the running backs, it is a little bit harder to evaluate them because they are just thudding. There's no like real strong tackling for the players to actually be able to evaluate who can break tackles better and stuff. However, things are going well right now. Practice has solidified that there are those 4 guys, but everybody is talented. In my opinion, everybody is talented from everything I've seen. Everybody hits the hole well. Everybody has good toughness, good feet through the drills. I really like what I've seen from all of them. I had faith in the first 3. I was a little skeptical on Sam Williams-Dixon, not because of his bad tape or anything like that in high school, but he did have the injury, and there was some thought of lower competition for him that possibly could sway the way he looked on some of his film, but he looked fine to me. Still, to me, in my mind, going to be the 4th guy in this rotation. I don't think that's out of the question to say, and I think that rotation is pretty well made up. Both Sam Williams-Dixon and James People showed that they can be productive from what we've seen so far. They demonstrated readiness. They demonstrated skills out of the first 3 days. Out of those first 4... With only 4 scholarship running backs available, Peoples, Williams-Dixon have received significant practice reps behind the established starters, so we are seeing a lot more of them rather than Quinshawn, rather than Trevion, and some of that might just be to get the quarterbacks used to these guys, right? You want them to be able to get used to them, kind of be more familiar with them. They were also here in the spring, so that does help, especially with trying to have the rotation and figure those things out. But both players, Sam Williams-Dixon and James Peoples, have made notable plays in the running game. Both have been able to catch the ball relatively well. I think the thing that is going to be the biggest piece about if they can get in the game or not is going to be pass protection, right? That was one of the things for Dallin Hayden that really kind of limited how much Ryan Day was willing to use him, and honestly was probably one of the reasons why he was redshirted was that pass protection. So can they be able, James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon, can they be able to pass protect? I think James Peoples is built for that. I think that he's going to be able to do that. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for Sam Williams-Dixon, not because he's not willing, not because he's not good at it, but just his body structure, his body type is not set out for that as much as James Peoples, in my opinion. So, and that's not a knock on him at all. He came in early, got in the spring. I mean, I'm not trying to say he's weak or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying he's a little bit more behind in that area than I think the other three guys are. And when you have a star freshman and two of the best running backs in all of college football, I mean, you're comparing this guy to some of the best players in college football and one of the best recruits in all of college football last year. So that's going to be really, really difficult to compare to, but I think it will be okay. Rashid Sese, he's a walk-on, and he also got some work. There was a little bit of him in the handoff drills and taking the ball, carrying the ball through some of the drills. So that was interesting to see. Patrick Murphy has been pretty vocal in talking about that he believes that Lorenzo Styles Jr. could be featured as a running back. So I don't know. I haven't heard that, but maybe Patrick Murphy knows something that I don't know. Maybe he's talked to somebody that I've not heard it from. And if so, I think that would be really interesting. Lorenzo Styles Jr., he played wide receiver at Notre Dame, and he kind of just seems like one of those athletic guys that you get the ball in his hands. I think he was the one that made that very first catch against Ohio State in 2022 versus Notre Dame, the catch that got Josh Proctor benched for like 4 weeks leading up there. So good to see him out there a little bit more. We're going to talk about him more in the defensive portion, which that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 2 different videos. I'm going to have the offensive video and I'm going to have the defensive video. So if you guys want to go watch both of those, this video is probably going to be about 15-20 minutes. So I didn't want to try to make a 40-minute video. I wanted to break it up for you guys so that way you could watch one, then watch the other one later on. All right, let's get to the returners. All right, here are the list of people that I saw returning kicks and people I talked to saw returning kicks. Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, Emeka Egbuka, Bryson Rogers, Jeremiah Smith, Jaden Ballard, and Caleb Downs. So I am still not getting my wish of seeing Travion Henderson return a kick. I think that would be special. I think that would be fun, but obviously something about him is just not there, whether it be the ball skills or the tenacity to run. I don't know. It must be ball skills. He has tenacity. He has courage to run into the crowd. I mean, he does it every single time against huge defensive linemen. So, I'm not really too concerned about that. But I like this group of people that they have returning kicks. You're always going to put Jaden Ballard back there with that kind of speed. Jeremiah Smith, just see what he can do with the rock in his hands, right? I mean, this guy has been so special in everything that he's done so far. Just get the ball in his hands and see what he can do. Bryson Rogers, I think he's earned the, a little bit more recognition to say, hey, we're going to try to get the ball in your hands possibly a little bit more. Caleb Downs is the one I want to see, though. I mean, that's the guy that I want to see back there. He was able to return a punt for a touchdown last year. Granted, I think it was against the FCS competition, but still, that's more than Ohio State guys have been able to do. We played Youngstown State last year, and nobody returned one for a punt then. So bring in the guy that was able to return a punt last year and give him the rock. I think go for it. All right, let's get to offensive line. Now, I do want to say, when there's no pads, I don't put too much stock into offensive line play, so this is going to be more about kind of the reps and who took the reps. I think that we'll get a better idea once we start having actual pads on, but of course, at that point in time, we won't be having people at practice. Media might be there, we'll see, but they'll only be there for a short period of time, even if they are, because Ryan Day won't want them to be able to get kind of the inside perspective on that kind of stuff. But Simmons, Jackson, McLaughlin, and Fryer, I mean, those guys, they've locked down. I mean, those guys, they've locked down their spot. Who did I say? Simmons at left tackle, Jackson left guard, McLaughlin center, Fryer right tackle. I know there's some speculation there for a while if Fryer could be moved to right guard. I don't think that's going to happen. He's pretty much solidified himself at the right tackle spot. Carson Hinsman was not present for day one. Hinsman was back and has been repping at right guard and also taking some snaps at center as well. So obviously the thought process there is that if he doesn't win the right guard position, he would be the backup center option. It would most likely be the backup right guard option as well. That's not uncommon. You would probably have whoever was third repping with the second team with Hinsman at center. Third would most likely be Luke Montgomery. Montgomery has been taking some snaps there at right guard as well. Day three's first team snaps were primarily Carson Hinsman. I think that was really interesting, but it might not be all that much because Tager got the majority of them day one. So they might just be catching Hinsman up. We'll see, how that transpires. But Luke Montgomery, he seems to be kind of on the outside now. I think he still is kind of given a chance there, but I think that this competition has come down more to Tegra and Carson Hinsman than anybody else, just based off what I've heard about the snaps and who was kind of getting it more with the first team. He was not getting as many snaps with Tegra, and honestly, this seems like more of a backup scenario in case Hinsman wins the right guard position. If you put Luke Montgomery getting snaps at center, maybe if Carson Hinsman wins the right guard position, you have Luke Montgomery as your backup center and Tegra as your backup right guard. If Tegra wins, like I said, you would have Hinsman as both your, sorry guys, late at night. You would have Tegra starting, then you would have Hinsman probably as your backup center and your backup right guard as well. However, this could mean something. This could just be them trying to get Luke Montgomery involved more there, and I think that's good news for him because I think whatever happens, you're going to have at least 4, possibly 3 guys leaving the offensive line next year, and so this opens up possibilities for Luke Montgomery for next year and gets him some good snaps. All right, Seth McLaughlin. He is going to be a major impact for this offensive line. I don't think people realize how much of a help he is honestly going to be. When I asked about the snapping issues to somebody that was there, they said, I forgot all about the snapping issues, which that's what you want, right? I mean, if he was having snapping issues, you'd be like, oh my gosh, we're struggling with this again. Snapping, having a problem. It's going to look the way he did against Michigan in the bowl game. No, I think Ryan Day was on point when he said that this was more of a timing and cadence thing with the quarterback at Alabama. And that's an art that people, I don't think, realize for the quarterback to be able to do. We know Jalen Milroe excelled in a lot of areas, but there were certain aspects of being the quarterback that he wasn't as great at, and that may have just been one of those aspects. I'm sure Kalen DeBoer is working on that relentlessly this offseason, but I think he had maybe one bad snap where maybe it went over Will Howard's head. So, there was that one there, but for the most part, he's had good snaps this entire camp so far through 3 days. So you really can't complain about that there. And I think based off what I saw and based off what I was told, he was the best pass blocker in one-on-one drills. You put him against the defensive linemen in those one-on-one drills. Now, he's not going against Jack and JT. However, in those one-on-one drills, he seems to be the best pass blocker, in my opinion. And from what I've seen others, he has Hinsman as the clear second center, only getting first team reps with McLaughlin is running laps. Basically McLaughlin runs laps, Hinsman's put in, and then McLaughlin right there, first team reps again there at center. So I don't really think there's a competition for center. I think that right guard position is really our only competition. Josh Simmons was impressive, stopping both Sawyer and JT. JT tried to put a bit of a spin move on Simmons, but his twitch and his quickness was able to stop that spin move and really pin him and hold him up. That was really nice to see. Sawyer tried to kind of speed rush around him, but Simmons was able to stick with him. And then later on, Simmons got beat because Jack Sawyer bull rushed him and was able to push him back into Devin Brown. And then I think that was Simmons. Might have been Fryer. I think that was Simmons. But I know for a fact that JT did speed rush and get around Simmons. So that was interesting. They're kind of interesting to see the dynamic of Jack Sawyer, more of a speed rusher, to be able to bull rush Simmons, and then JT, more of kind of the power bull rusher. Is what we've seen from him. He was able to get around Simmons. I think it's good news in both areas. I think it's Simmons kind of understanding what these guys are and trying to work to that, but he's also now getting a little bit of a taste of the mindset of it all, that, hey, just because this guy's primarily a bull rusher, I do have to watch out for his speed, because if I'm not ready for it, he can still get around me. And at the end of the day, you love to see that JT is starting to get some speed rushes in, and that Jack Sawyer has added another element to his bag with the bull rushing there. Josh Fryer, let me tell you, Josh Fryer's quickness has improved. It's been really nice to see his feet and how he's been able to get quicker with it. He's still pretty stiff. Okay. He does not have the most twitch in the world, but his feet have gotten better, and that was always a part of his game that he was able to make up for kind of some of his lack of twitch, was his feet and how quick they were. So that was really, really nice there. Looking more and more like a starting tackle, in my opinion. Now, when he gets to the NFL, he's probably still going to be a guard, but looking more and more like a tackle. You love to see it. All right. Like I said, about 15, 20 minutes, and now we're getting on to the good stuff. So wide receivers are probably going to go over 20 minutes here. I'm glad I made this into 2 videos. Wide receivers. Let's start with the freshman sensation, Jeremiah Smith. He will lock down being a wide receiver on the outside for this Ohio State team this year. It certainly could be week 1, but make no mistake, there will be a primary usage of Jeremiah Smith on the outside, Carnell Tate on the outside, and Emeka Egbuka in the slot at some point this season. Does that mean Emeka Egbuka is wide receiver 3? No. I think that means that Emeka Egbuka is filling an area where the other 2 guys on the outside are just better at the outside, and that's good, right? You don't want Emeka Egbuka playing on the outside when he's better suited for the slot. I personally feel like Emeka Egbuka, although he can play on the outside, I think that's good for him that he has that versatility. I think that he's better in the slot for me personally. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, whether he's in the red zone, whether you have all the space in front of you, he can run every route against every defender. I mean, there were clips out there of him being able to go against Denzel Burke. And Denzel Burke, make no mistake, he is one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. And this Jeremiah Smith coming in as a freshman, I mean, I wish Ryan Day would talk about it more. But he is just so special. And not only is he impressive physically, but like I said, he can run every route against every defender. That's not just physicality, guys. That is mentality, the ability to study, the ability to work, dedicate yourself to your craft, dedicate yourself to your footwork. I mean, so many different things. And I mean, he and Caleb Downs are going to be the reason why Ohio State is going to contend for a natty again in 2025. I mean, they're going to be contenders this year, obviously, with everybody coming back, but Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs are going to be key pieces to why Ohio State will contend again in 2025 because of those guys, and they're just too young to go to the NFL. They won't be able to go yet, but they're going to still be there. And they're going to be fantastic pieces for this team, fantastic leaders for this team, in my opinion. Emeka Egbuka, he consistently reliable. I think he's looked like every quarterback's favorite target when he's out there. Seems like these guys are looking for him more often than not. Now, he has been a little limited. I don't think it's injury-based. I think that it's probably just giving some of the younger guys some more reps. And like I said, it really does seem like when Emeka Egbuka is out there, people are looking for him kind of more often. And so I'm wondering if maybe they're trying to take away that safety blanket because they don't want another Kyle McCord situation where McCord would just throw it up to Marv if he was ever in trouble, which, I mean, it worked out for him most of the time, so you can't really complain about it too much. But you definitely want to spread the ball around a little bit more than that. Carnell Tate, the limit for Carnell Tate is just through the roof. I don't think there is a limit for what he can do. Ryan Day said that in his press conference, and I could not agree more. I mean, Carnell Tate, he is just on another level right now. I think that some people were disappointed with what they saw in him in the season last year. I was not. I mean, he was a freshman. I kind of wish they would have played him a little bit more than Julian Fleming at times, but Julian Fleming was a willing blocker. Not always the best, but was a willing blocker. So it's hard to take out a guy giving that much effort out there. But at the end of the day, Carnell Tate, he's going to be the real deal this year. Brandon Ennis, didn't notice a whole lot from him. You know, it's not like he wasn't there or something like that, but good stuff from him. Just didn't notice a whole lot. And then Jaden Ballard did catch a TD from Julian Sain over the middle in the red zone. So who knows? Maybe maybe Jaden Ballard is finding it here. I don't think so. I think this is going to be another repeat where, you know, he's incredibly athletic and do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be the year for Jaden Ballard. I don't think so. We'll see. Maybe he'll surprise us and do something special, but I don't think it will be this year. All right, let's get to the last piece here, the quarterbacks. I know this is the one that everybody likes to hear about. Will Howard and Devin Brown, they're beginning to separate themselves a little bit, in my opinion. I think that Will Howard and Devin Brown are the two guys fighting for this starting position more than anybody else. So Julian Sain, I think that he's locked down that third position there, and it's not really anything against Julian Sain. I just think that Will Howard and Devin Brown have the experience that this team needs. I don't think this is a season where you're going to be starting the true freshman, and I think that Julian Sain understands that, but he has come in and he has passed up Lincoln Kienholz in my mind, and he has showed that he has some very good instincts and awareness and the ability to read defenses and make quick decisions, which is excellent. Will Howard did have some struggles the first day, and the second day he did improve, but it still wasn't great. And then he was the most consistent on day 3. That was by far his best day, most consistent. Still not like a huge deep ball thrower. I think Devin Brown has been making those shots more than Will Howard. Not to say that Will Howard hasn't thrown those shots, but Devin Brown is just more willing to. And then a lot of buzz that Will Howard had the 85-yard touchdown run that, I mean, if we're being honest here, if the defense could hit Will Howard, possibly he gets stopped. I mean, he probably does, but still, I mean, he was able to make the run. He was able to get by guys and hit the hole and have the vision to be able to make it 85 yards. So, I mean, I'm not going to take it away from the guy. I'm just glad that we have a running back or a quarterback who can run the ball and not look bad out there doing it. So, Will Howard, his greatest strength really is his short and intermediate throws and being able to make those happen in the passing game. That's his biggest strength in the passing game in my mind. Devin Brown seemed to perform his best day 1 and day 2, and then day 3 he struggled. He had some good throws, but he also had some throws that weren't as good. He's the better deep ball thrower between him and Will Howard, in my mind, at least from what we've seen so far. He's definitely more aggressive than Will Howard. He's definitely more willing to push the ball down the field a little bit more. Does Ryan Day want that? I tend to believe no, because Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are going to, lean more on the run game this year, possibly, than not. And I think that they're going to want to hold on to the ball a little bit more, especially with a strong defense. So that's my thought process there. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Will Howard and Devin Brown are both certainly looking good. I still give the edge to Will Howard right now, but we'll see. I mean, could be Devin Brown. He's made improvements from last year. And, if you ask me about it, everybody says he got beat out by Kyle McCord. I think if he didn't get hurt, I think he would have been the starter. And later on in the season, in my mind, whether it was the Wisconsin game or whatever, I think he would have been the starter at some point in my mind. All right, like I said, Julian Sain, he is a freshman, but guys, he is going to be great. Julian Sain is going to be great. His processing, it's at another level for his age. It's his willingness, his ability to do that through the days have been one, if not the most, if not the best, I apologize, performer in the red zone as a quarterback, which is really impressive, especially for a young QB. He's missed multiple deep passes, missed them long, kind of missed them to the outside, out of bounds. And so I just think that Julian Sain, for him, once the arm catches up to the mind, I think it's going to show out and be really, really special. And again, this isn't to say that he has a bad arm. He doesn't have a bad arm by any means. I think he's just adjusting to the team, adjusting to the play style, and trying to figure out these guys a little bit more. I mean, the guy, I think he won Elite 11, so obviously he has a fantastic arm. It's just you're adjusting, and, Devin Brown and Will Howard have been in college for a number of years, and they've adjusted to the gameplay, and there's aspects of them that are veteran, and so I would love to see Julian Sain get a lot of garbage time playing time this season. That's what I'd love to see. Air and Lincoln, they were both a bit inconsistent, but let's also remember who they're comparing them to. We're comparing them to Julian Sain, Devin Brown, Will Howard. Neither of them saw any time in the 11-on-11 session, so that kind of leads me to believe there's really no shot for either of them to come into the starting role race, but I think we all pretty much knew that from the beginning. Air is still developing his processing ability. I will say he does have legs, and he's willing to use those legs. I mean, obviously these guys have legs. That was kind of a stupid thing to say, but he's willing to use those legs. Sometimes he uses them a little bit early for my liking, but at the end of the day, he uses them well to get out of the pocket, and he should be aided by that as his processing and gets better and the game begins to slow down for him more. So really don't have a whole lot of thoughts on Lincoln Keenholz, but those are pretty much my thoughts for you on the first 3 days of Ohio State practice on the offensive side. I'll put out a defensive video. I'll put that in the description. So if you guys saw this one first, head on over to the defensive one and watch that. Let me know your thoughts. Comment below. I appreciate it. Twitter, posting every day on there. Find me at JR's Rankings, the Big Ten Huddle. Got 5 videos a week over there, 3 recorded, 2 live, and then the OHIO podcast. Catch me there Sunday nights at 8 o'clock with Eric, Chris, Mello, Devin, all those guys. Great times over there on the OHIO podcast. Go check them out, and I'll see you there. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good one.